I promise you, this isn't as bad as it looks. It does look pretty bad though. This truck right here is a 2014 GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, so it is one of the top models. I think the next highest trim level is the Denali, but this truck right here pretty much has the whole package. The only thing it doesn't have is a sunroof, which don't really need. This truck is pretty much a one owner. It was owned by the same family. The grandpa bought it brand new and passed it down to his grandson, and then the grandson got in a wreck a little bit ago and sold it to me. I don't know exactly what happened, but you can tell in the front end that the left front wheel took most of the damage. Luckily though, I don't see any frame damage and it all looks to be pretty straight underneath there. There is one little piece that's a little concerning, but very fixable. It's a 2014 and it has around 116,000 miles on it, which is relatively low for a 10-year-old truck. It's a 4x4 and pretty much everything you need out of a good truck. All this for only $3,000, which I believe is a steal. And to top it all off, it still has a clean title. The reason it has a clean title is most likely it was not reported to insurance. And that's how wrecked cars like this usually still have a clean title. Sometimes if it's a newer vehicle or it doesn't really take that much damage, it will still have a clean title in a wreck. But for stuff like this, a little bit older, usually it wouldn't. But good news for me, it makes insurance for these things a little bit easier to get, and the resale value stays up on the higher end. Obviously, you want to be transparent when you're selling a wrecked car that it had previous damage. But if you do it the correct way and document the whole thing, usually you don't have a problem selling it for up to what it's worth. Let's take a deeper dive in this thing. I want to show you the interior because the interior is very clean. But first, let's show off the damage. We'll start with the passenger side. There's really no damage to this side at all. It all came out pretty unscathed. There's a little bit of scratches right here, or actually that's old pinstriping. So we can clean that up pretty easily. This whole side is good. The grille looked to be in good shape, but once you come on this side, you can see right where it took the full hit. I'm guessing it got hit right up here where the headlight was and then pushed the tire back and it ripped the whole wheel off. The wheel is actually in the bed and we can see what kind of damage it took. It's basically split in half. Looking at the inside though, is still in pretty good shape. None of the wires got messed up. The electrical box moved out of the way and didn't really damage anything in here. And there's not really much mounted to this side, just that box. So really it just needs a new fender and maybe a little bit of support brackets like this and then the radiator support. It didn't leak any fluids and the AC still works, so it should be a perfectly running vehicle once we put it back on all fours. Got to get all that situated. That brings me to that. As you can see, a lot of this got ripped off. All the ball joints, the tie rods, the whole hub assembly, the axle, all that got ripped off in one big swoop. All that got ripped off, but all this can be replaced and is pretty easy to get replacement parts for this. The one more concerning part is, I don't know if you can see it down here, but the front lower control arm mount, it took a little bit of a hit and kind of ripped out the bolt. With this high strength steel metal, it's kind of hard to bend that back in place, so I might end up cutting it off and welding on a new one. I don't think that would be too difficult and probably the correct way to fix that. I don't think that little bit of damage is worth replacing the whole frame. And that is the only thing I can see on the frame being damaged. Moving up top, you can kind of look down and see the frame, and there's nothing standing out to me. It all looks perfectly fine. Just the fender looks really bad. The hood took a good bit of damage too, right here in this corner. Everything else on the hood looks good. It's just this one little corner piece. If you were really good at working with aluminum, you might be able to pull that out and fix it, make it look right. I'm not really good with working with aluminum, so I don't know. That might be able to be fixed, but I think I just want to replace it. Engine bay, everything is fine, but one thing it's missing, which is kind of weird, is the air box, and it also was cut out. This wiring goes to the mass airflow sensor, I believe, and this is the whole air box assembly. They just cut it out. I don't know why. It was sitting at a yard for a few months, so maybe someone broke in and stole it. I don't really know. We gotta find a replacement for that and fix all those wires. So yeah, the fender, the hood, and the front bumper, all that needs replaced, plus whatever else underneath here. Like the radiator support probably needs replaced, along with some of the plastics and mounting pieces up underneath there. Hard to tell what we need until we actually start ripping all this stuff off. The last major damage on this truck is the door. Right here got ripped up pretty good. And it doesn't really want to open, opens, doesn't really want to shut too easily. You gotta really slam it. And doesn't open up all the way either. But we're gonna get a new door on order, probably find one in a junkyard that's white already. Now that we talked about all the damage on the outside, we can move to the inside and show you guys what it looks like and the little bit of damage in there that we need to fix. First thing I notice in here is it smells brand new. The seats are in perfect shape, no rips, no tears. Nice leather everywhere. You can definitely tell this is one of the higher end models of this truck. Nice brown interior, which I think looks a lot better than a black. As you can see right here, the airbag did blow. This is the only airbag to actually deploy. A new airbag for this is around $400 or $500. That's what needs replaced, along with all these seat belts. Also, if you were working on a wrecked vehicle that airbag's deployed, you're also gonna need to reset your airbag control module. You can send that off. That's the only major damage inside here, just that airbag needs replaced. One other thing I did notice at the passenger side door, there's some cardboard sticking in the window that usually tells me that the window regulator went out. I've replaced hundreds of those before in different kinds of cars. It's usually not that big of a deal. Usually like $100 part, maybe $200. Shouldn't be too big of a deal to fix, but we will fix that once we get this thing running. Go ahead and turn it on for you so you guys can see the mileage on this thing. Oh, right there it is. Hold on. Go ahead and start it up too. Sounds pretty good. It's not gonna sound perfect because of that missing air box. It's gonna definitely throw some codes. Like the check engine light is probably on from that. I don't know how to get to the mileage. Oh, right there. I don't know if you can see it. I can dismiss everything, but 113,000 miles. I thought it was 116. So even better, honestly. So I think you would agree with me that this is a very nice truck for only $3,000. And once we get it all fixed up, it's gonna be really nice. I think it's worth almost like $16,000. I can't remember the exact price, but I'll throw it up on there. What it's going for on Kelley Blue Book. A little price difference of what we could possibly get close to. But that is not my plan. My plan is actually to build this for my dad. My dad has never owned anything this nice, this new. It's not even that new. My dad has always kind of sacrificed his vehicles for the rest of the family. And I think it's about time that he deserves something really nice for himself. Something comfortable, clean, nice, and reliable. Hopefully this is reliable. I don't know a whole lot about these motors, but haven't heard anything bad either, So even though this is for my dad, I still want to make sure it is very safe, reliable, especially for my dad, obviously. But I'm really happy to be able to do this for him and have the skills and ability to fix this for him. I don't think it's going to be that hard of a fix, and it's going to be a really nice truck after it's all done. First step in all this, though, is to get it moving again. I want to dig into that suspension, get it taken care of, and hopefully get it back on all fours and moving under its own power again. I don't want to work on this thing out in the heat, so I'm going to grab a tent, and hopefully that helps a little bit, but I think I have most of the stuff in to get this thing fixed. So first things first, let's get this thing on a jack stand and get to tackling it. Hopefully it's not too bad underneath there. Let's do it. Not too bad, not too bad. We got it mostly taken care of. Got the hard part done at least. This down here was the most concerning part about this whole thing. Right here is where the lower control arm mounts to. And from the wreck, it bent it back and the bolt got ripped out. That was the most concerning part because you can't really like replace that. They don't sell that replacement piece brand new. This right here is the old one. You can see how much it ripped out. I did cut this part to actually remove the lower control arm because it was really stuck in there. But the rest of it, that's just how it came from the wreck. Talked to a few of my friends, body guys, asked them what their opinion was on trying to fix this. They said to bend it back in place and it should be fine and just weld up the rips. I don't really know how we would go about doing that. You have to put a lot of new metal on there. I don't know, it just feels weird bending this back in place, especially since it's a major control arm. I thought it was just gonna be better to replace this whole thing. So what I did is I found a guy who was selling parts off of a frame and I got him to cut that for me. I just cut out where they welded on from factory and then just replaced it with the new one. That easy. It wasn't too hard. And what made that easy is having a plasma cutter. I use a plasma cutter from Eastwood and it has been great. It's been able to cut pretty much anything I put in front of it. It makes for quick work. I only took like 10 minutes to cut that out. It's very easy. I also been using Eastwood's MP200i welder for the past like 2 or 3 years now. I haven't had any complaints and I've been able to do a lot with it. I've been using it to weld metal and also even aluminum. I use a spool gun to weld aluminum with it. Very good welder for the price, and if you're getting into welding, I'd recommend that one. The links to those are in my description. You guys can check them out if you are looking for something to weld or to cut. I put the mount on there and then bolted it all on to make sure it lined up right, and it lined up pretty perfect. Just a little bit of welding and we're good to go. Now, it's not factory welding. I'm not trying to hide anything either. I'm not the best welder in the world, but it's gonna hold, and it's probably gonna hold better than factory. Everything lines up correctly. We should be good to go to put this thing back together. These are all the parts that we're gonna be replacing. Some of this looks to be in okay shape, but in a wreck, you really wanna replace all that. If it's even tweaked a little bit, it's gonna throw off your alignment, so it's better to just replace all that in one go. Especially tie rods and everything, I'm just gonna replace it all. So with all that being replaced, I figured might as well is a perfect time to add a lift. Let's check it out. Right here is all the parts I'm gonna be replacing. These are all the OEM parts. And this is my 3.5 inch lift kit from Rough Country. I installed a Rough Country lift on my Jeep, and my Jeep has been perfectly fine. I didn't even get that thing aligned and it drives straight down the road. I think a 3-inch lift is perfect for this. My dad doesn't like anything super crazy, but I wanted something to stand out and give it a little bit more stance to it. And I think this is the perfect option. Another great thing about this is it comes with the new upper A-arms that I need and also the new struts that I need. I figured since I'm replacing those, we might as well add a lift to it. Save a little bit of time and a little bit of money since we were already gonna replace all that stuff anyway. We might as well upgrade it. Let's go ahead and get this thing back together and on all fours. See if it drives. We need to make sure it drives first. Let's do it. kind of Carolina squatting right now. Is that what it's called? What the cool kids do? It is not staying like that though. It may look cool to some people, but not to me. It's on all four wheels again and it moves around. It's a little iffy moving around right now because the alignment is way off. I need to go back in there and do a little bit of adjusting just so I can get it to an alignment shop to be able to fix it fully. The tie rod on this side is way off. We got to do a lot of adjusting there. I could show you just by looking at the front end. Yeah, look at that. A little bit more adjusting right there. Also, I went ahead and hooked up to a tree to pull out this bumper a little bit. That way I could actually turn the wheel. It was rubbing quite a bit. Same thing with the fender and everything. I just pulled it out a little bit more so it's easier to get to remove once we actually do remove it. Still waiting for a new fender to come in along with a couple extra things in the front end before we dig into that. Definitely want to get the suspension all taken care of though. This right here is a new rim I picked up from a junkyard for $100. Pretty good deal, and I threw just a random tire on it. It does not match the rest of them, but this is just to be able to get it around. We're gonna get new tires for the whole thing pretty soon. This is pretty much what's left of the old rim, so definitely need a new one. And also this truck did not have a spare with it. I don't know if that's an option or it's just missing. So we had to find something to put on here because I don't have another extra wheel here to put on there. I tried one from the other truck, but it was too small of a rim to fit on here. So had to make do. We figured it out. I got this side all done and I even installed the lift kit on the other side. Now that only took me maybe an hour to swap out, to put the new strut on there and also the upper control arm. Got all that swapped out in like less than an hour. It was pretty easy to swap out. That is not it for the front lift kit though. We still have to lower the front differential by an inch. It comes with pucks. You basically just unbolt it a little bit and lower it down. A little bit of cutting required, but I don't think it's too big of a deal. Probably another hour or 2 hours to get the front end finished and then we can move on to the back end. Back end is supposed to be easier. It's just a couple block off plates and then also some new shocks. After that, the lift will be done and be ready for an alignment. I don't know of any place around me that has alignments, so we'll have to figure that out once we get to it. We're moving right along though, not too many hiccups, just a couple little hiccups we had to deal with, but it's going. Now that we have this thing on all fours, I can pull it into my garage and be able to work in the cover. My tent has fell apart a few times. The wind took it away and broke it, so it's gonna be nice being able to work on concrete and under shade again. So let's get this thing in the garage and finish that rough country lift kit. Almost done. The rear end lift was way easier than the front end. That only took maybe an hour to do. Pretty easy. Lift in the back comes with a 3-inch block-off plate. So what you do is you lower the axle, remove the old block-off plate, and put the new one in. Comes with all new hardware, so you just bolt it all back on, and then it also came with new M1 monotube shocks. If you see from the old ones that were on there, definitely need new shocks. So basically all new suspension around this. It should be able to drive perfectly. We won't be able to test drive it until we get an alignment on it, and I also want to fix the front end, get the airbags fixed and all that kind of stuff before I actually drive it. But I do have to say it looks really good, at least from this side. Once we get some bigger tires on it, get it all matching, it's gonna look really good. The other side doesn't look so great. Yeah, need a little bit of work on this side. The tricky part about the lift kit on the front end, getting those pucks up underneath the front differential, you have to lower that down a little bit, and what I had to do was remove all that stuff that I actually already put on. So you want to do all that in one go. I just couldn't do that because I want to get this thing on all 4 wheels so I can move it into the garage to be able to finish this lift kit. But if you were to do it all in one go, like the video and instructions say to do, you can knock out this front end in like 3 hours, probably less than if you had a couple extra hands. Overall, this lift kit should only take about 5 hours, give or take. Took a little bit longer for me because I had to put it together, take it apart again, and then put it back together again. But it all works out, and it's rolling now, and it drives a lot better. Even fixed the front end a little bit, got it aligned a little bit better, but it still definitely needs to go to alignment shop because the camber right here is still pretty bad. I'm gonna adjust that out a little bit more before I take it somewhere. I already started sourcing parts. We need a new hood, a new door, a new fender, new bumper, new headlight. Got all that stuff pretty much ordered. The only thing I'm waiting on is a fender. Trying to find a used one. Prefer to find one white, saves a little bit of time, but also looking for a good deal because these fenders go for up to like $800. I could buy an aftermarket one, but the aftermarket ones are steel and this is actually aluminum. So I don't really want to go that route. I want to stay OEM. That way it all lines up and matches correctly. So yeah, just waiting on a couple more parts and we could throw those on and get this thing back on the road. Hopefully not much painting to do. Might end up having to paint some stuff depending on good deals or not. Trying to save some money on this thing. But overall, we're on track to having this nice truck for about less than what it actually would cost to buy from a used lot or from Marketplace. Really just anywhere. Huge thank you to Rough Country for sending out this lift kit. We needed it to actually get this thing back on all 4 wheels. And it looks really good. Once it's all put back together, it's gonna look awesome. Next episode, we're gonna be tackling all the body work, get this thing back on the road, and hopefully get it done for my dad. Next episode. Maybe a couple episodes. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave it in the comments any other ideas you can think of, any upgrades we can do to this for my dad. If you're not following me on Instagram, I post behind the scenes on what's coming up and what I'm doing that week. You can check it out there. If not, I will catch you in the next episode, probably on another project because I got so many to do right now. Thank you guys. Bye.